Hey, good morning and welcome to On the Chain. You are here on the Auto Review with Jeff. This is Jeff. Welcome. Today we are going to dig in and get into some really, keyed in topics. Now, in the title, on the thumbnail, I put Doge, the next Bitcoin. I put it there. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I saw an article in the mainstream why you should be paying attention to the Dogecoin. We need to look at that. We need to look at why there's so much mainstream hype over Doge. Does it even make sense? I also want to talk about financial inclusion, decentralized crypto assets, and we're also going to talk about and touch on taxes and crypto. There was a really good Twitter stream by the accountant, and I want to dig into that because he brought up some very important points as it pertains to Flare, and really it could pertain to any airdrop. So we want to get into that. We want to find out what that's all about. But when we talk about financial inclusion, this is all stemming off of an article that came off of Ripple that they really focused in on unlocking financial inclusion with CBDCs. So there's a lot that we need to talk about. We have to understand what that all means. What in the world really is financial inclusion? That's where we're starting. And it all is about to happen right now. Let's go. All right, we are back and we are live. So welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody here. I didn't even see, this is horrible. My audio intro on the audio was terrible, absolutely terrible. This software platform disengaged my audio. So hopefully that didn't come through too terribly when I started, because it was using my camera microphone instead. So welcome back. So I want to dig right in, and we're going to go into the Doge. And then from there, I think I'm going to move over to some statements by Christine Lagarde regarding the EU economy that's really, per this article, on crutches. But we really need to get into all of that. So let's look at this one first. Let me open up. Let's see here. Let's get our screen shared here for a second. See if we can even get it shared. All right. Oh, you know what? Before we share the screen, look at that. Make sure you guys grab your coffee. So espresso this morning is the Segfredo. I think I had the same coffee last week. It's the black bag. It's the commercial grade, high-end espresso. Really good stuff. I just ordered some of the red bag on the Segfredo.com website. We keep shilling this coffee and get nothing out of it. But if you're enjoying the coffee, enjoy, get it, and let's get this thing going here. Hang on. All right. And again, oh, that's so good. All right, so let's go back. Where are we? Oh, here we go. Okay. So why you should be paying attention to the Dogecoin rally. Now, I brought this up. Now, I've talked about this on the show before. I've been in and out of Doge. Right now, I'm out of Doge. Don't hold any Doge. Doge is down. The last I looked, it was down to like 20 cents again. But, here, it's on the Motley Fool. All of a sudden, we're starting to see this pop up more and more frequently, that on the mainstream type of publication like the Motley Fool, they are focused in and talking about, what is it? Crypto, digital asset, to the point. Now, my friends and family, know that I talk about cryptocurrency. I get no pressure to them whatsoever. You guys want to get in. My recommendation, get in, but if they listen, they listen. If not, then, that's on them. But to the point that, my own mother last night told me that I'm hearing crypto everywhere. Everywhere I go, it's all about crypto. And so, this becomes important, because when it gets to your friends and family, to those that aren't actively involved in the space, and they come to you and they say, what is going on with this crypto? My friends keep pinging me. Yo, what was that site again? Was it Upward? How do I get Bitcoin? How do I get other digital assets? And I write them back. Uphold, Coinbase, there's others. And they're like, oh, that's right, it's Uphold. And it's just like I'm getting pinged more and more. And why are all these people now pinging me on the digital asset? And it's because of articles like this. It's because mainstream has now begun to talk about the seriousness of this subject, of this topic. Now, with the seriousness of the subject and all of these within the mainstream, the big question that's hanging out there is, do they all know, do they all understand what digital assets are valid and which digital assets aren't valid? Or are they beginning to talk about it for hype's sake? Because these are the assets, these are the tokens that are out there. Everybody at this point, all of these mainstreamers understand the terminology Bitcoin. They've heard Bitcoin, they've seen Bitcoin. If you talk to them about Bitcoin, they might not know what a Bitcoin is. They're like, how do I put Bitcoin in my pocket? Where do I store my Bitcoin? All of that stuff. But, you know, now it comes down to Doge. And here we are in the Motley Fool. So there's been so much discussion over where Doge is going. Obviously, Elon Musk has been hyping and FOMOing people into Doge. And we've seen Doge come from the decimal points up to where it's in the tens of cents, right? We saw 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. I think it touched 40 cents. And so is it a serious digital asset? And a lot of people keep talking about it. Here it is in the mainstream. So, and the reason why they're talking about it isn't because they see the utility of it, isn't because they think it's better than Bitcoin or better than XRP or better than anything. The only reason why the mainstream individuals and the media are starting to talk about Dogecoin is for one pure and simple reason: increase 6,560% year to date. That's it. That's the only reason. They don't understand it. They don't know it. They might not have invested in before, but now they look at it. Just like if you go back to 2017, when Bitcoin, went on its big pump and Bitcoin went up to $20,000, and you started seeing the media really gravitate, towards the digital asset conversations. They even brought on the media. How do you buy XRP? How do you buy Bitcoin? How do you buy Ethereum? And they showed that right online, people going on to Coinbase, etc. And so here again, the reason why mainstream is talking about it isn't because they know anything more than anybody else. And in fact, they probably know less than anybody in the space. But the primary reason that they're starting to gravitate and talk about the Doge, and I'm not undermining Doge. I'm not saying Doge isn't going to go up even further. I'm not saying that it's not going to hold its value. I'm not saying anything like that. All I'm saying is the reason why mainstream is now focused on it is primarily for one specific reason. And that reason is that it has increased 6,560% year to date. And they're also focusing on the fact that it had a market cap. Let's see if I can highlight this. Here we go. Let's see if we can do it. There we go. It had a market cap of $50 billion. So these are, two reasons that they're focused on the Dogecoin. One, 6,560% increase. Number two, $50 billion market cap. Look at this, making it more valuable than well-established blue chip companies like Ford. How do you like that? So this is like the primary focus. This is what they're keen in on. This is what many of them are keen on in this space. This is where mainstream institution investment starts coming to, well, really when the floodgates open and start moving into digital assets, first and foremost, their focus is on this point, and really this point alone. Then they start looking at some of the other projects. I'm saying, from the mainstream media discussion perspective, you get into the financial institution investments. This is where they're going into Bitcoin. This is where they're going into Ethereum. This is where you're going to see some of the movement going into XRP or into some of the platform projects, maybe like Polkadot, or maybe you look at what's going on with Binance with BNB. So this is really I don't want to say the end all be all, but this is really, you look at the terminology. What do we see in this article? We see GameStop, right? Who was talking about GameStop before the GameStop craze, a couple weeks ago? How about NFTs? In the same article, we're talking about NFTs. There's an NFT craze. And so the media is gravitating towards the stuff that's just like, insane. All of a sudden you see NFTs selling, for crazy amounts. So the power of a meme, so really now he's going to focus in on, what is it that really, well, look at this. I like this. Look, a number, here we go. Groups of traders, Reddit, the meme traders often decide on an arbitrary price target. For example, a number of Bitcoin backers, I don't know if that's not Bitcoin backer to our buddy Bitcoin backer, but we have Bitcoin backers, meaning a number of Bitcoin backers have changed their Twitter profile to include laser rays in their eyes in solidarity with the phrase laser rays until 100K, meaning 100K. There's no deeper meaning to this. It's simply a meme, a way of collectively supporting a mission to pump the price of Bitcoin to 100. So for them, they're looking at the hype of it. They're looking at, the FOMO of it, what's going to drag people in. And this is what this article on Motley Fool, this really, again, what they're focusing on. But hey, you know what? Whatever brings attention to the space at this point is, it's interesting, and so someone brought here we go. So Doge came into flare because it was a package deal with Litecoin. Here we have Dogecoin is valid and has been implemented by Flare as an inflationary hedge because of its infinite supply. That's straight from a Flare finance employee in person. They included it. And I'm not saying anything negative about Doge at all. I'm just focusing on, why mainstream is now really emphasizing it. But I do want to give a quick shout out to Mixed Mix, aka J Soul, and another J Soul. Appreciate you. So, so that's the Doge. Is it the next Bitcoin? Who knows? Right now it's at let me pull up CoinGecko here. I don't know why my CoinGecko shortcut is gone. But let's see where the market's at. The market is in red. Bitcoin down 20%. We've got Dogecoin at 26 cents right now. So let's see here. Hang on a second. Let's pull it up. Let us pull it up. Hang on. Oh, you know what? I just got to click over here. There we go. So we've got, interesting enough, you've got Ethereum staying over the 2,000 mark. You've got Bitcoin under 50, down 20%. You've got Tether. We're going to talk about something interesting about Tether here as well today. You've got BNB is down about 3-4% at 490. XRP at $1.06, down 32%, but up 1.5% in the last hour. It was last night. It was around $1.11. Cardano hovering in that $1.11. Now it's $1.13, and then Dogecoin at 26 cents. So the whole market has really come down over the past 7 days, pretty drastically in some scenarios. But yet you have other tokens like the Sol token that's hovering at almost a 40% increase in the past 7 days, which is, that's pretty interesting, because you have others like Theta down 37%. Then you've got Sol that's up 39, almost 40%. Someone was talking about Sol recently. We got to look into that project. Don't know anything about it. Pancake Swap up 16%. So Pancake Swap making some move because it's in the DeFi space. I don't know. Uniswap, I think, was down. Where did Uniswap go? Let's see. Uniswap down 15%. So look at that. You have a lot of red, but then you have some positives out there. The significance of a diversified portfolio when you're not all in on one thing is that when some things are down, other things are up. Not saying invest in Pancake Swap, but at the same time, I'm not saying good or bad or indifferent. Maker at 8.3%, but the other night it was at like 40 something, 4,300, I think it was.
down about 11% in the past 24 hours. So that is where the markets are right now, and so where do we go from here? Where do we go? We've got Solana is legit and backed by Grey Kid. Interesting. Appreciate you bringing that up. We've got to look at that project. I'm gonna dig into that. Maybe we'll bring it up. We'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow night on the roundtable. But there's so many projects that are out there, and when you see a project like that pumping in the past 7 days, and as a legit project, that is very, very important. So, all right, let's see what else we have here. Oh, so yeah, we're going to talk about taxes, and I think that definitely factors into Moonbags. Biden's 43% capital gain tax. So there's a lot of things going on. We got to get into talk a little bit about that implication of what that could possibly do. So. Oh, look at this one. Moonbags, wish I didn't sell 200K at 6. Yeah. You know what, Moonbags, I did the exact same thing, but I had established some holdings over on Robinhood. And when that whole fiasco came out with Robinhood, I said, you know what, I'm going to move this off. Now, I knew going into it, because I've talked about it many times, is that on Robinhood, you don't own your crypto assets over there. You're basically just invested in the idea of crypto. So when I decided that I wanted to move everything off, sell stocks, sell whatever I was holding on Robinhood, those were some of the things I had to sell, and Doge was one of them. And so same thing, I'd actually had pretty decent gain in Doge at that point, and I had to sell that. And I moved everything off, moved over to, that gave me, a decent amount, put it over onto another exchange, and was able to buy a few other assets, which in turn have gone up since then. So it wasn't so bad. But 43% capital gains tax proposal is criminal, and so we definitely want to get into that, and we would like to really go through what's going on. So this is very, very poignant to bring that up right now. So let's see, the Yeti coin. What's up, Crypto Camper? Not many people know the Yeti coin in here, so I'm glad that you still remember the Yeti coin. Biden's capital gains, not global. No, it's definitely not global. It only impacts those in the U.S. So we'll get into that one. So all right, that went through the Doge. Now on to something also I think important, which has to do with Tether. And this one, Coinbase Pro, is actually getting ready to list Tether. So here you have Coinbase. We know over the past week or so, week and a half, with the direct listing of Coinbase down about 22 to 25%, I believe. I think that I read that somewhere in terms of its valuation. Maybe it was even in this article. Let's see if they brought it up here, and maybe not. So, but anyhow, here's what's key though, is that Coinbase is now going to be adding Tether USDT to the Coinbase Pro platform. Now, there is a lot of controversy over in the past year or so over Tether not actually holding 1-for-1 in the USD. So initially, Tether said, well, we're holding 1-for-1 in an account. We have $1 for a Tether. And then it came out that, in fact, they did not have $1 for a Tether, but they had dollars, they had other valuable assets, they had other currency that balanced it out to be 1-for-1. So that was definitely a major issue that came up. And then, what happened here, they actually went through and they were brought under investigation by the New York Attorney General's office. And look at this, regarding potentially illicit loans between it and its sister exchange, Bitfinex. So here you had Bitfinex had access to $900 million in Tether cash reserves to cover a shortfall. When the crypto capital, when the payments processor crypto capital made off with around 850 million. So obviously there's still a lot of, there's a lot of turmoil. Here is another one. Tether has since revised its position to assert that though Tether is pegged to the dollar, it is backed by reserves that include traditional currency and cash equivalents. So initially it was supposed to be all USD, and now it obviously isn't. They finally had acknowledged all of that. Now, one of the issues is that in March it published an attestation from a Cayman Islands accounting firm stating that it had enough reserves to cover its liabilities as of February 28th. So Cayman Islands, I don't know, is that a red flag that they're operating out of the Cayman Islands? You know what? They're operating there because of ideas like Biden's 43% tax on capital gains and all the other, punitive type of scenarios that can happen regarding the investment space. Just a thought. So here we have Coinbase. Let's say they're not endorsing Tether, but they're referencing them for a stable coin like USDT, the company behind the protocol responsible for holding reserves that fully back. Okay, we don't need to reiterate. Why are we reiterating? Don't want to reiterate. So you get the idea that soon it's going to be over at Coinbase. So Tether agreed not to operate in the state, meaning it would not be available to New York Coinbase customers. Hey, go figure. What don't you guys have access to? If you're in New York, you are missing out. Missing out. It's horrible. I hate to say it, but being in New York, using Coinbase, I don't believe you're even getting the airdrop of Flare, of the Spark token. Not 100% sure, but I think I've heard that said that if you're using Coinbase, because of the restrictions in New York, you can't get the drop. I believe that was a statement that someone had said. Coinbase says that the ERC20 USDT running on the Ethereum blockchain, other versions of Tether aren't supported, will begin trading once sufficient supply is established. Will be paired with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Euro, Pound, USD, and USDC. So if you need to move USDT or USDC, if you're moving anything through, let's say like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, and you need USDT to operate it, to go onto another exchange to buy something, then you'll now start having access to USDT, which is, in my opinion, it's a big deal. You can't just be all in one just on USD. Yeah, USDC. There you go. So mid-mix, J-Soul, New York State needs regulation. It's bullshit. New York State needs to get their heads out of their asses is what they need to do, because that's definitely, a major issue. New York is definitely, upside down with too many things. Over the overzealousness of the government in New York to punish those that live in the state through high taxes, high expenses, and everything else. So that would be bad. So what is up, Moto? So let's see. Where are we here? Where did I lose myself? What happened? Here we go. Devon, it was said a while ago, the only asset getting flare is XRP holders held at 1212. That's right. I believe that's true. Texas XRP. It is coffee time with Jeff. So I think we should change the name of the show. It will be Coffee Time with Jeff, and we're going to talk about nothing but coffee, and then try to figure out how we can get crypto involved in the coffee conversation. Maybe that'll be it. Where can you buy coffee using crypto? Maybe you can use your Dogecoin, your Doge wallet, and go get coffee someplace. That'd be pretty sweet. So Tiago Pinto, hey Jeff, send me a contact so I can send you varieties of espresso from Portugal. Dude, that would be awesome. Man, if you can get varieties of espresso from Portugal, that would be phenomenal. Reach out to us over on Twitter if you want to DM us over on Twitter. That'd be, that'd be awesome. If there's people all over the world that have like their favorite espresso, and you guys want to send it, we'll give you guys a way to send it, and then we can try it. We can talk about it, and we can do that on Saturday mornings. We'll try out an espresso from different parts of the world that you have zero access to in the U.S. Something completely out of the ordinary. That would be like getting some like Ethiopian blue whatever coffee. There's some coffees over in Ethiopia, some beans that are grown over there that are like ridiculously expensive. So anyhow, so where are we now? Where do we lose our path? Where do we lose our spot? We didn't. That's why. Paxos. If you guys heard of Paxos, so Paxos has a federal bank charter from the OCC. How crazy is this? Right? We're starting to see this happen more and more. Companies in the crypto digital asset space getting bank charters, federal bank charters. This is like, we saw what happened with Kraken over in Wyoming, and now we're seeing this one. This is even more important, I think. Why is this more important? And I'll show you here exactly. Let me highlight it. Look, New York-based Paxos announced the agency has granted its provisional approval for a charter, a designation that will allow it to easily conduct business across state lines. Look at that. New York-based. So we know New York is one of the most difficult places to operate in from any perspective. But what a big move is that? I think that's massive. Look, it's significant in part because Paxos, which applied in December, has quietly become a powerhouse in the fast-growing crypto industry. A powerhouse. Look at that. Powerhouse in the crypto industry. The company is providing back-end services for PayPal, for PayPal's crypto operations. It's been a pioneer in developing tokenized versions of gold, corporate shares, and other traditional assets. Paxos also has stable coins. What a massive bank charter. I mean, that, things are unfolding rapidly, really, really fast. Now, we saw that it happened. The OCC gave a federal bank charter to Anchorage. We saw that custody firm, right? It's a custody firm. So we saw that one happen. Now in February, the agency granted a second one to Protego. We don't know Protego. Missed that one completely. Missed that one. But now another federal charter here. It's significant because it came after the agency's Brian Brooks stepped down in January. Look at that. That's, I don't know what this has anything to do with it, but then they say, well, on May 1, he's going to become the new CEO of Binance US. Brian Brooks going from the OCC to Binance US. They are taking Binance US to the moon, so to speak. That means they're putting people of high caliber in high places. I should say high caliber because the guy ran the OCC. Brian Brooks coming from OCC, moving over. And think about all the people that Brian Brooks knows and the paths and everything that he's going to open up in order to build the Binance US business and take it. They saw what happened with Coinbase. You think Binance is sitting back and saying, hey, Coinbase just went public. All the attention and focus is on Coinbase. All the attention and focus on Kraken because they have their banking license. Binance US is like, the heck with that. We need to play hard, and we're moving. And they take Brian Brooks. They tap him for CEO of Binance US. That's massive. Now we don't really, this whole article is about Paxos. We don't need to know exactly, but the new charter for Paxos suggests that it is indeed the case, at least to some degree. What is that? Okay, let's go back. Make him some, okay, blah, blah, blah. Raising the question whether the OCC would continue to take a sympathetic view of crypto firms. Is it going to? Now we just see another charter. It's a banking charter. I think overall, net positive. So meanwhile, Paxos also announced, unlike other federal charter recipients, it's going to continue to operate in New York. Holy cow. Look at that. Will continue to operate as a New York State regulated entity. What in the world are they thinking? But that's where it was granted. So you know what? They want to stay in New York. Oh, well. So let it preserve its relationship with New York's powerful financial regulators. So if it passes in New York is one of the most difficult, then that means that it can really go anywhere, as they said. So that is definitely a net positive. When they go and they open up and they get chartered in New York, net positive allows them really to open up anywhere because, again, New York being the most difficult. Let's see. And look at this. The federal charter Paxos received allow it to operate as a national trust bank that lets it store customer assets and conduct a variety of other operations. Nice. Okay. But does not include, but that does include not permission to receive, but that does not include permission to receive and lend out customer deposits. I would assume that this not should be over here. Editor, decrypt. Your editor did not see that. So for now, the federal charter is likely to prove useful for Paxos as it goes after institutional investors. There you go. Boom. Institutional investors. How do you like that? It won't let me double that up. That's okay. All right. Forget about it. Forget about it. How do you like that? A national charter with Paxos. So Kraken, Paxos, and we talked about some of the others, maybe not as relevant to the retail investor, but critical to the space. Now, you tell me that the crypto space is punitive as the US government wants to get from a tax perspective right now. They want to get punitive. The crypto space is going to continue to develop. Why? Because every administration serves 4 years. So all the punitive measures that this administration is going to take vis-a-vis the economy, with the tax, with an increase in capital gains, whatever they want to do to destroy our economic well-being in this country can all be reversed. Now, the crypto space can be considered somewhat of a haven as we see inflation begin to skyrocket in the US because of the 1.2 point whatever trillion of dollars that the Fed and the US government has dumped. It just basically printed and dumped trillions of dollars and pumped it into the economy a little bit too late. So you look at the measures, you look at certain states in the US, Florida. Why is Florida's economy still flourishing? Why did we not see a major setback in our economic well-being in Florida? Florida always seems to be the last to be impacted by a financial pullback or recession. And Florida always seems to be the first one out of a financial pullback or recession for many different reasons. But in this scenario, over the past year, if you look at states like California or New York or Michigan or others that were extremely, extremely restrictive and overburdening on their people due to these lockdowns, and they continue with the insane financial, impact that they still won't open up their economies properly. The governor of Florida came out and said that very early on, they noticed that, as Jesus was saying, that the lockdowns were a negative impact that were detrimental to the economy and to the people of the state. That was the first thing that ended early on. Then you look at these other states, and I look at what's going on in the crypto space. I look at what's going on in the from the federal perspective right now. The mentality of this administration right now, as it pertains to the economics, to the financials, is detrimental to everybody. So what they're trying to look at, and this is where we want to talk about taxes, because the impact of taxes on us as an individual investor is very, very critical. So one thing that's been circulated, not sure true, could be fake. There's no real, evidence to that fact that they want to punish crypto investors with an inflammatory tax burden of around 80%. I don't think that that's true because, if it factors in, they're looking at capital gains taxes of 43%. Now, capital gains tax could be a farmer that inherits the farm from his parents and then has to pay, inheritance tax, capital gains taxes. They have to pay all sorts of taxes on that farm to the end where those farms end up getting shut down and go out of business, mainly because they can't afford the tax burden. Now, why is it the responsibility of the government to punish an investor or to punish a business owner or to punish a family legacy, let's say in a farming space? Why is it the government's business to punish them in order to, make themselves look like they're actually trying to balance everything out. So one of the most dangerous terminologies that I've ever heard come out of of the government, is when they start talking about and we're going to talk about financial inclusion, but when they want to balance out and try to, instead of raising up the bottom tier economically, they go after the top tier and they want to punish the doers in order to try to motivate those that haven't, and they look at it as some sort of an imbalance, and so it becomes extremely difficult, when you start saying, okay, let's add 43% capital gains tax. Okay, so for every investment that you have, you're now going to be punished every time you invest in a company. And so now the companies are going to look and say, well, no one wants to invest in our stocks now. They're not buying and selling our stocks. Why aren't they buying and selling? Well, because every time I sell your stock, I have to pay 43% capital gains tax. That makes no sense. So it should be taxed at whatever your tax rate is, but why are we paying such hefty taxes anyways? It's my money. I get to invest into what I want, so that is it. Nintendo Contra. What is up? There we go. What's up, XRP Speedboat? What is up? That's right. There is no state tax in Florida. So, on a burrito, so grateful Florida opened early. And yes, it never felt locked down like other states. Exactly. It never did. So, in Florida, you go back again, you look at everything pretty much opened last April, May timeframe. So you saw like Palm Beach County opened pretty much end of April, beginning of May of last year. And then you saw, some of the counties in Florida were trying to fight the governor's office and not open. The mentality, I can't even imagine, Broward County, Miami-Dade County, they were trying to fight back and didn't want to open up. And they really, had to try to, it was very, very destructive, what they were trying to do. And so you had some counties that were, ahead of the game, some behind the game, like in Palm Beach, they were open up, all of last May, and the restaurants were packed, and then they balanced things out and they said, okay, 25% fit, whatever, that's a whole different conversation. So let's see. Nintendo, I feel like putting coins in a hard wallet and then opening an offshore account gets more attractive each day as they talk about increasing taxes. Yeah, you put it into your hard wallet and just let it sit there, and that's a good point, where, you think about, where do you hold your digital assets? Do you hold your digital assets in Coinbase? Is it an Uphold? Do you put it over on Celsius so you can earn interest? Now that earned interest that goes into is paid in like currency. If you're out of the US, you can get your earned interest paid out in your cell token. So if you get your cell token over on Celsius, you still need to pay, tax on those interest gains, or you can get paid out in like token, or you can take your digital asset and keep it on your ledger and keep it in a hard wallet completely offline and only take out what you need. And there you go. So Guillermo is talking about Miami getting ready to accept Bitcoin as a tax payment. And we need to reach out to the mayor over there, because the mayor has really been talking about making Miami more crypto friendly. So there are a couple of people we need to reach out to over here. Need to reach out to Darren Soto, Congressman Darren Soto. He's up in the Orlando area. Need to talk to him. Then we need to reach out to the mayor over here. Those are two in Florida, both Democrats, though, that are, very crypto friendly. And then we have Warren Davidson up in Ohio. Need to reach back out to his office. Between all of these individuals, somehow we'll have somebody on the chain on our roundtable, and we'll dig into it. Somebody else brought up unrealized. So Chris is talking about unrealized gains tax. So Janet Yellen put out a proposal where you actually have to pay tax on unrealized gain. So imagine you invest 100 and your investment goes from 100 to 200. So you basically have an unrealized gain of $100 because you invested 100. It's now worth 200. You haven't sold it. You're still holding it, but you have an unrealized gain of $100. Per Janet Yellen, her idea of the tax there was to tax you on that $100 unrealized gain. Now, could you imagine every time your investment goes up, and they could probably look at your unrealized gains over a period of a year, say, okay, let's calculate all of your unrealized gains for 2020, or let's say 2021, and now we want to tax you on those unrealized gains. Now, if you were ever to try to put policy in place that was going to deconstruct an economy, and when you want to level the playing field, the terminology I was trying to think of earlier was level the playing field, where they want to punish, put punitive measures in place for those at the top in order to level the playing field in hopes that you're going to somehow elevate the people at the bottom. But normally what happens when government gets involved and you think about policies like unrealized gains tax or overburdening income tax or capital gains tax, whatever it might be, you're not elevating those at the bottom. You're punishing those at the top because you're putting money into taxes. Now, if I start a business and I can hire 10 people and I can get those 10 people and they can earn a living, and those 10 people go out and they can invest in other companies, or maybe one of them spins off and creates their own company, or they can go out and go to all these restaurants and shops and spend their money. That is leveling the playing field. I start the business, they make money, they have job opportunities, they go out and frequent other businesses, everybody's making money, everybody's happy. Some people are making more, some people are making less, but everybody has an opportunity to be part of the economy, which is what we're going to talk about next in financial inclusion. Then you have the government idea of what leveling the playing field is, unrealized gain, all sorts of punitive measures that are punishing those at the top in order to somehow benefit those at the bottom. But instead, what happens is that you punish those at the top, you collect the taxes. Now the government's holding those taxes. What do they do with those taxes? Is there an automatic UBI, universal basic income, that they're now redistributing the wealth? They're taking from those that did and they're giving to those that didn't. Now, how does that make sense? In what world, in what civilized world, an example, have we had UBI that has been functional and has actually worked? The Soviet Union didn't work. Venezuela, socialism doesn't work. Cuba, socialism doesn't work. Across the board, if you want to look at absolute power in a socialist totalitarian dictatorship, will corrupt absolutely. North Korea doesn't work. Example after example after example to where it's, definitely punitive. And so here you have this situation where, and this is why we want to get into crypto. Why is crypto so critical to the people, to the masses globally? Crypto is so critical to the masses globally because it gives everybody an opportunity to see financial inclusion, to be able to do for themselves and take care of themselves and find a way to benefit themselves without the government taking and handing out to those that didn't. So you have a major issue, speedboat, enjoy your day. We'll see you on the next one. So you have a major issue right now. So this thought process, you want to tax somebody's unrealized gains. You give it to the government. Now, if the government is going to redistribute that to those that didn't and those that don't, when are they ever going to do? So right now you have a situation like in the US where you have people that don't want to go work, mainly because the money coming from the government is more than what they can make working. Now, when are you ever going to motivate that person to then work? When are you going to motivate that person to then build a business? Now, in many scenarios, I look at, in my family history as an example, my great grandfather came over to the US And when they got here with a buddy of his, they were junk dealers. They used to go around and collect scrap metal. And they took that scrap metal and they turned it into money. And his buddy ended up, doubling down on that. I think my great grandfather ended up passing away, or something happened to where he wasn't able to continue, but he made a living for his family. Now, his buddy took that scrap metal that they used to run around and collect and turned it into a steel business that is probably around today. It used to be massive, a massive, massive steel company. And think about, back in, I don't know what year that was, years and years ago, but how do you get somebody, imagine you come over to the US or you live in the US or any other country, and the government is giving you just enough to survive. At what point are you motivated to go out and build a business? At what point are you motivated to go earn a living if you have just enough to survive? And then you have a government that's undermining your education system through misinformation and revisionist history. At what point does that do those individuals have a chance to succeed? How do you undermine an education system? I know it's getting political, but this is kind of important because it all fits into this narrative of the unrealized tax gain and everything else that that they're doing, and what crypto represents. Crypto represents liberty. Crypto represents freedom. It has freedom from the ultimate control and manipulation of these socialist ideas that the government has. Now, you as an individual, if you earn money, if you invest in crypto and you invest in stocks and you invest in gold, whatever it is, but you earn money, and let's say you succeed. Now, are you motivated as an individual that has been successful to then give back to your community? Or do you want the government giving to your community? I look at it, private donation, investment, and support of others in the community is much bigger and greater when people have disposable income to then reach out and help. Whereas with the government entities, where they oppress and suppress people's motivation. So now, when we see this, kind of as a conflict, because we want regulatory clarity in the United States, as an example, right? We want regulatory clarity. And if we want regulatory clarity in the United States, we don't want punitive regulations. We want regulatory clarity to properly invest so people can make more money. That's the whole point. And so when we get into this idea then of financial inclusion, not talking about leveling the playing field. And I think Ripple's article, brings up a really, really solid point that we're going to talk about. But it's a very, very solid point where they're unlocking, and the title of the article is Unlocking Financial Inclusion with CBDCs. But I want to take their idea completely a step further, because I think they kind of missed the boat a little bit, missed the point a little bit. But let's look at this. So unlocking financial inclusion. Now, as I look at it, and I kind of, came up with, some ideas, along these lines. And this is perfect because it kind of brings us to the top of the hour. So the first thing that we have to look at when we look at financial inclusion is get an understanding of what financial inclusion is. We understand leveling the playing field. Leveling the playing field can be done through financial inclusion. Leveling the playing field through a socialist, communist mindset is take from the top, give to the bottom. That doesn't work. Allow the top to build and create. You'll give the opportunity to those at the bottom to create. Give the people at the bottom, bring them into financial inclusion, and they are going to grow exponentially. And so what are some of the things that hold the bottom back? Is it because the top is successful? As different governments around the world will have you believe that those at the top are successful because those at the bottom aren't, or those at the bottom are not successful because those at the top are successful. Now, that doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. You can't have those at the top successful at the sacrifice of those at the bottom. Now, are there people cheating and scamming society? Yes, that happens at all levels, everywhere. But this thing doesn't exist. So those at the top create. There's individuals that started at the bottom and moved their way up to the top. Now they are, wealthy, and they have around them, they've created tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of jobs. So others at the bottom can also join them at the top at some point. Now, 98 to 99% of the people will never see the type of success that some of those people have. Bill Gates, Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the list goes on and on and on and on. They are maybe 1%, less than 1% of the population are way, way, way at the top. Then the other 1%, 2% of the population. But why do certain people get up here? And then you have a lot of people that are in the middle because of education. But the key is that many people had the opportunity to go from the bottom and kind of make their way up. Now, at some point, though, what we're seeing, especially with in the social media space, is that you get people that get way up to the top, like Gates, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and others, that then begin to leverage and take advantage of their achieved fame and power to then punish others. That just happens, right? Absolute power will corrupt absolutely. When you worship an individual because of their stature, eventually that also corrupts them. So think about like Hollywood actors or musicians that people, follow them and believe that they're better and bow down at their feet because they're actors or musicians. That power will end up corrupting their mentality in most situations, not all, but you see that most situations, their mentality gets corrupted and they believe that they're better than everyone else. Politically speaking, the same thing, right? Politically speaking, their mentality also gets corrupted. So financial inclusion, how do you achieve financial inclusion without the government taking from the top and giving to the bottom? And when they give to the bottom, when they take your taxes, when they take your 43% capital gains tax, or they want to take, your unrealized gains, or you get an airdrop from Flare and they now want to tax those unrealized gains, even though it's a gain. They don't give 43% of your income to those at the bottom. What do? They just sprinkle some fairy dust, some breadcrumbs, right? They just sprinkle the breadcrumbs around because there's no motivation for the political elite to see those at the bottom elevated, because they want them just above desperate. They don't want them desperate. They want them just above desperate. Those that are just above desperate are placated. When you have a community placated, then those people are beholden to you forever. And so that is something that you have to really, understand. That is probably the most, that's probably the most critical lesson that anybody can walk away with this, at the end of the day. Now, unlocking financial inclusion, we really have to understand what financial inclusion is. It's not leveling the playing field, but financial inclusion is allowing people, and really you can break down financial inclusion to different layers. So the different layers of financial inclusion, you have your local community financial inclusion, you have regional inclusion, you have countrywide inclusion, and then you have global inclusion, and you join the global economy. Now, you can work your way through the layers, but let's start at local, because the local financial inclusion is where it all starts. Now, for financial inclusion, what does that involve? Financial inclusion from a personal perspective, that means that I'm banked. That means I'm involved in the financial situation of my local community, my regional community. That means that I earn money, I put it in a bank. I then want a home loan. I have credit, right? This credit number that they attribute to. I have money in the bank. I can get a loan because of my job, because of whatever else. I've established myself as reliable. I pay these bills. So now I have access to money. I can go get a car loan. I can get a new car. I can then go to school and I can get a school loan. I can go start a business and I can get a business loan. And during this whole process, I can get credit cards. Now, that's financial inclusion. From a business perspective, financial inclusion is business loans. When I sell something, I have a credit card processing device, so I can accept your credit cards. I can accept your financial inclusion through this structure, taking credit cards. I can use credit cards to buy goods for my business. I can use my bank to send bank wires and ACH to send money and receive money. If I'm working globally, I can receive international transactions and sell international transactions. If I want to expand my business, I can get a mortgage on property and buy property to put my business in. I can go get car loans to expand my fleet of vehicles. And I can go get equipment loans so I can add to my equipment and make more of whatever product I'm making. Now, think about all those around the world that are not seeing financial inclusion. Now, that financial inclusion could be the form of not working within our banking structure. You'd be amazed at how many people in the United States don't bank, meaning they take their paycheck, they go to a check cashing store, they pay 20% on the dollar, they pay 20% of their check to get their cash, to get their fiat, 20%. Now, imagine you're making, just over survival, and every $100 you pay out 20. Let's say your paycheck is $500 for the week. You just paid out $100. $100 to cash your $500 check, and let's say that's after your taxes. So you walk away with $400, but you just paid $100. In a given month, you paid out $400 a month. In a given year, you paid out $4,800 a year to cash your check. $4,800 a year. What would that $4,800 a year mean to somebody that's making $500 a week? And they're not part of the financial space because they're using these check cashing stores. It's a phenomenon, but financial inclusion at that point starts at the smallest common denominator, being able to open up a bank account. Now let's imagine a coffee bean harvester over in Colombia or Ethiopia. And this is real. This is real world. So you have a family that lives in the mountains someplace in Colombia. They have a small farm. They grow coffee beans. There's then a master, they're not really a distributor, but let's say somebody that's in the coffee bean market. They go around to all these farms. They pick out the best beans. They then coalesce them into a distribution. But the family farm doesn't take credit cards. They don't have a bank account. They're doing everything by hand. They have very limited equipment. They might not have vehicles. They might not have whatever it is to go to the next level. But they get paid fiat. They get paid in cash. They have enough cash to go out and buy rakes and some small things, but they're not inclusive. They're not in the they don't see financial inclusion because they're only in the very beginnings. They're living in fiat. They're not banking. They can't get a mortgage. They can't get equipment loans. They can't get vehicle loans. They're not accepting credit cards. So unlocking financial inclusion means so much more. It means that those that are in Colombia or Ethiopia, if they have a cell phone and they have a QR code, you don't need the bank. You don't need, and maybe the reason why they're not banking in some of these communities, mainly because the banks don't exist. The banks aren't in those communities. So how do you bank when you don't have a bank? But now if you have a cell phone and you have a QR code and you have a crypto account, it could be a stable coin account. It could be USDC. It could be USDT. It could be Bitcoin. It could be XRP. It could be Dogecoin. Doesn't really matter. at the smallest common denominator that is currently not financially inclusive has now just become financially inclusive in the crypto space. Why is it then so significant that we're seeing some of these companies like Paxos and others that are getting chartered? Why is it so significant, that we're starting to see, those that are, in the crypto space like Celsius offering interest? Why is it that we're starting to see credit cards in the crypto space? Ozkin, it makes 100% sense. The theory makes sense. It does. You just got to dig in and think about it. It definitely does. So, man, it is 9 o'clock. I appreciate you guys joining us this morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you haven't been on before, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the little bell notifier. That way you get notified every time we go live. Tomorrow is Sunday, is the roundtable, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We stream live Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Until then, have a great weekend, and we will see you on the next one. I'm out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.